With Anno 1.17 having just come out, there are a lot of things to learn across so many systems in this game. The great thing about Anno is that you can play as hardcore or as casual as you want. Relax and expand Trajan's Roman Empire exactly how you see fit. With that being said, sometimes things just break. Either you're not producing any faith, your knowledge is low, your income is tanked, whatever it is. Well, in this video, I'm partnering up with Ubisoft to help you fix your broken Roman city. So a huge shout out and thank you to Ubisoft for sponsoring this video. Now, this is the first time on my channel. The way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos. So with that being said, let me give you the real basis for everything we'll be discussing. Everything in Anno comes down to these three big points: the area of effect of your buildings, satisfying the needs of your populace, and stacking those needs, those buildings. I've echoed the sentiment before in my video about making money, linked in the upper right-hand corner, but anytime I'm suffering with some aspect of my city, it's usually discovered through a lacking need in one of my pops or populace. Further, that need is satisfied by the area of effect of any number of buildings. Then I stack those buildings up to help me further shore up any problems I'm encountering. Outside of that, there is tech that plays a lesser role in all this, but it can help complement the existing effects. For example, a technology adds knowledge to your tunic maker to help increase not just your income, but now your knowledge rate. In this video, I'm not going to tell you that you need to build these buildings or that if you don't build like this, you're wrong. Nay, instead, I'm going to guide you into understanding why certain aspects of your city are falling apart and ways to approach fixing them so you can build the realm of your dreams, not mine. But that's too long to watch this entire video. I'll be giving you further details and concrete examples of how all this comes together, but if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. You can navigate ahead to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters with the timeline in the description. And if you are heading out and you found the information in this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Remember, Anno 1.17 Pax Romana just released on PC across Ubisoft Connect, Steam, and the Epic Game Store, as well as on Xbox and PS5. So if you haven't bought the game just yet, make sure you check out the link in my description to pick it up. Lastly, you can find a link to my Twitch, where I will be playing Anno live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But let's get started on how to fix your broken city in Anno 1.17. Loading into the game, let's take a look at Fortuna, this city that we're going to be talking about. Now, I've made this city. This is one of the first cities I ever built, and it has a lot of issues. At the end of this city, we're going to take a lot of the things that we're going to discuss and we're going to apply them to this city. So it will change from this slide to the very end of the video. So first we have to talk about establishing, or I guess diagnosing, what the problem is. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So just kind of taking a look, I'm going to pause the game real quick, and we can kind of look at our city from the top down, and we can already see some visual context clues of things that are wrong. You know what? Full output storage. That's an issue we've got to deal with. We can look at the top here. Our balance is pretty low. We're roughing it up on income. But further, we can look at other things. We can see this whole tab at the top here, or I'm sorry, not even tab, I guess you could call this bar. Each one of these tabs within this bar has individual bits of information that are going to give me all the insight I need into figuring out what's wrong. Island income here, my population, might not be able to find as much here. This is going to be basically, this is the thing that matters, right? Your balance, because this is your income and your expenses, but you can at least see all the different things that are happening. I'll go into this in just a second. So we have our knowledge, we have our faith, our belief, our prestige, as well as our health, our happiness, and our fire safety. So we can see that a lot of these values are low, they're negative, maybe they're just not good to begin with. Like island belief is not awesome. So we see that we can adjust a lot of this to really help us out. And we can also take a look at this as well. We have our workforce here, as well as our plebes as well. Or why did I say it like that? But our plebeians we can work with, and we have an idea of all that. So this is basically how we're going to diagnose a lot of the issues that we're encountering. Either it's a visual context clue on the actual game map, like this little guy right here, or it's discovered through all of these individual bars that I'm going to go ahead, or tabs that I'm going to go ahead and hover over. Now, there is another one that you can take a look at as well by clicking this, your portrait. And you've got, this is going to be overwhelming. So don't look at this and go, oh man, my eyes just crossed. There's a lot of information here that at first blush might not seem like it's helpful. And like, for example, here, like this is a pretty big crucial one that we're going to go into with production, and I'll discuss it in a little bit. But This gives us lots of information that is nuanced. And like I said, it can be overwhelming, but we can break it apart. Like, hey, let's just look at agricultural goods. Cool, this is where I'm going to get some information here. Maybe we're looking at governance because we're talking about belief or faith, if you want to call it that, or prestige or knowledge. We get a lot of what we got breakouts of in those tabs as more details here of, hey, this is where all this stuff is coming from, our bakery, our belief. Let's just say we're losing 64. Where's that loss happening? Where is it? Okay, well, I'm not really getting much of it here. Let's go ahead and take a look at, this is a pretty big chunk. Wow, there's 41 negative here. So we get this a lot more granular of an approach to all the information, and you don't need to get this in depth, but I wanted to show you that this is how you can help diagnose a lot of the problems that you're encountering in the game. So now that we've talked about how to diagnose things, how to discover a lot of information, we also know that we can find a lot more information from needs. So let's go ahead and take a look at this building right here, one of our plebs. And we can see from this little diagram here, this little sectioned thing, that there are 4 different needs or categorical needs that this residence needs. We're meeting one of them entirely, we're partially meeting this one, and we're partially meeting this one. And then lastly, we are not meeting this one at all. So we know that those things are lacking in this specific residence. Now, this isn't across the entire city, right? Because this is going to be limited. We'll talk about that in a second. So if we take a look over here at our public services, we have not allowed Grammaticus to reach this location. And also, we have not given them any both amphorae or olive oil, hence this little bar right there missing. Let's, again, jump back here to Grammaticus. So Grammaticus is going to give us, it says right there, need attribute, knowledge. So as this gets fulfilled, it will increase the knowledge that this plebe will then generate for my city. And we can get some further information on this by looking over here. Island knowledge right now says from needs 90. Well, how many total plebes do we have, right? If each one of these plebes is going to give us +3 in the household, and then we have a certain number, let's take a look at what that looks like. So we can click back onto our character, and we see in this production area, we're going to go to governance. And then since we're talking specifically about knowledge, we're going to click this book, and this gives, it's a lot of information, right? Well, let's go to, plebeian residence. Okay, well, we see we've got 41 total plebes, and it shows us here, like, this is the balance across all of those current residences, but that tells us too that 41 times 3 is not 90. 41 times 3 is 123. So we know that we're low on our knowledge here. So let's take a look at how this works. Knowledge, we know, is generated by the Grammaticus. So I can click this Grammaticus, and we've got a lot of information we can see. This green road represents the extent of this specific Grammaticus and what residences it's delivering its education to. Conversely, you can see these little up chevrons are also the same thing. And I've got another Grammaticus at the other end of my city. So this shows me an overlap, roughly an overlap, of where these locations are not getting hit. So for example, if I keep clicking back and forth, it's going to show me that I'm missing these 2 buildings right here, this building right here, and almost this entire block down here, right? So this building, so from this Grammaticus, this whole section isn't getting hit. From this Grammaticus, just this top row right here is, right? This, like this row and then this little bit of that column. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 buildings that are not getting hit. And then an additional, if we come up here, 11, 12, 13, and 14 buildings that are not being hit. So basically, if we were to take that number and times it by 3, that's 42. So it's roughly, not necessarily exactly, our difference. And there's also other factors that are going to come into this. It's not necessarily just 3 knowledge, but it gives me an idea that I've got 3 missing. And I found that by looking at this character. You don't need to get as granular as I just got. I wanted to show you the breadcrumbs of how this all can kind of come together. So we've clicked this and we know how this works. Remember, this doesn't just work for the Grammaticus, it works for our sanctuary. I can see the sanctuary is pretty much hitting all my buildings. It works for our warehouse because our warehouse is hitting mostly everything we need it to hit. Everything that needs to attach to another thing, I can click these things being buildings, and get an idea of all those things it needs to touch. So we can do two things here. We can move the Grammaticus over here, right? Now it's going to hit more buildings. We can move our individual buildings. So let's talk now about organizing buildings to shore up any of these broken situations. So here is our grand perpetrator of the issue we've established. It is our Grammaticus. And this is a pretty big one. What are we going to do? Are we just going to simply move the Grammaticus over there? Am I going to move the buildings over there? Well, one of the cool things about playing Anno is that there's a lot of lack of permanence when it comes to placing things. So we're going to get a little surgical. I know that if I were to place this here, I'm going to get some buildings, but I'm also going to leave these up here alone, right? You can see how as I move this away to different roads, I'm going to lose all of what I had access to here a little bit ago. So let's just drag this thing forward and see where we can kind of influence stuff. And yeah, you get a sense that it'll influence pretty much everything I said that we're missing right around here. If I move it this way, I mean, that little circle you can see will move as you move it. So I can see that it's pretty much right here is where it needs to reside. So we can just simply do this. Drag this around and pop that right there. And now we've pretty much just made room to organize our building into this. And now those buildings that were the only two buildings that are not getting hit are now just these two. So we can move those buildings. I can adjust things a little bit further, but this gives you an idea that really just comes down to organizing buildings around to make them make sense for your entire city. Now, there's other things that you should take a look at here. We've already talked about knowledge. So now this population is going to get served that knowledge. So I'm going to unpause the game, and you'll notice that it's not immediate. It has to populate. They have to basically go there, learn whatever it was. They're going to get the knowledge starting to pour in, and it will then build a surplus in this location. Meaning, if I were to move the Grammaticus, it doesn't immediately drop to 0. It will gradually reduce over time. So you can see if I hover over now my island knowledge, it's gradually going up. Those from that from needs section, 97.5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 98, 2, 3, 4, 5, because now those buildings that we didn't have in range of the Grammaticus are now being delivered all this juicy knowledge. So we can also adjust this in different ways. Remember, I said we're talking about moving these buildings around and stacking all these area and these benefits. Well, this comes into income and how we can adjust moving things and also bolster our incomes. Because remember, our income is really low right now at plus 22. So let's talk about income. Now, I'm going to sound like a bit like a broken record because we're going to go over something that I've talked about before in needs, but it's part of this whole thing. Now, income can be generated from a lot of different sources in the game. And I think it's pretty easy to fall into the trap of just simply, okay, I can just produce more population and they will give me more income, because that's how it works. That's the underlying basis of income. Now, again, I have a whole entire video on this, so you go check that out if you so wish. But if I were to take a look at the needs of my libs, I can go ahead and take a look at tunics, and I see just by hovering over this, needs attribute income plus 2. So creating tunics allows me to get money for my my libs, because is part of their need system. Same thing here with the Pilius. And as you work on other things, you can now, okay, sewing circles was just discovered. Now you can see my tunics will now generate from the specifically the spinner, the actual building that makes the tunics, income and now knowledge. So I can move these buildings around, because not only is the need attribute an income plus 2, but you can see right below that area effect, income plus 1, knowledge plus 1. So this falls back into organizing your buildings. How can I get more knowledge and more income from just this one building? Because where it is right now, I'm just going to click this button. It's right here. It affects, well, let me move this. Move this over here. Pause the game real quick, then build this here. It affects 44 buildings. That's not too bad, but what if I place it over here? Now it affects 80 buildings. 80 buildings will now give me +1 income just from the area of effect and +1 knowledge just from the area of effect. This is something where this is little tiny changes you can make to your entire city as it currently stands. You don't need to completely restart here. I'm just talking about, look at these individual buildings. What are they giving you? Income and knowledge, boom. That's gonna double what it was giving me before. Well, just about double, right? Because it was 44, now we're up to 80. So it's not exactly double, but it's just about there. So this is an example of getting income from, I'm just gonna press that. I didn't need to build it, right? I could have just done this. Oh, whoops. Yeah, just move the buildings. You don't need to build anything you don't want. You don't need to build anything you don't want. That's a life lesson. So we slap that there, and that is now generating more income. So I moved the clothier, and it says -25, right? Because we moved it. Oh no, we lost all the income we got from that. Now that we've put it in a location where it's now generating double, unpause, it's now +53. So you can see that's a lot more. Yeah, I'll take refreshments when I so wish. It's a lot more income coming from a building that all we did was move. That was it. But this extends further into other buildings. So just take a look at these buildings, hover over them. Income +1 and population +2 from bread. Well, where's my bread? If I hover over this, well, if I click this, it'll show me. And then I click this. Oh, my bread chain's all the way over here. That's not really gonna help me. So right now we're at 53 income. Let's take this. You know, I want to put it in that location because it's pretty sweet. Let's just, for the sake of showing you what this can do, we're going to move the Grammaticus back to where it was and grab the old bread station, also known as a bakery. No one calls it a bread station in the real world. Don't know why I've done that. That is the bread thing, right? Yeah, it is. Okay. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and place this right here. We're at 53, right? Dropping it down. Now it's 185. So we've shored up a ton of income just by moving 2 buildings. But we've also created some other hazards, and that is fire. So let's talk about that. So fire is something you're going to deal with. And coincidentally, right when I pressed record, a fire broke out. So let's go take a look. And I was going to show you how to shore it up. If we go ahead and press this. Okay, so it's right over here. So this is where this fire has started. That's okay. I'm pretty sure we have a Vigilus over here, or maybe we don't. We're going to find out in 2 seconds because I'm going to show you how to deal with it. Because you can see this number right here. I'm going to pause so we can talk about it so I don't burn my whole damn island down. Island fire safety. And as someone who lives in Southern California, I'm rampant with this issue. But from area effects and specialties, I can see where all the negatives are happening. My bakery is now through the roof on its production of negative fire safety. My tiller, my charcoal, my fat burner, or larder, or whatever it's called, all those things are producing a massive penalty towards that fire safety. But my Vigilus is giving me a bonus of +64. So this is how we adjust that actual thing, right? We can go ahead and take this guy. This is my current one. If I keep it here, you can see what it applies to, right? It's just the same thing as we talked about with the Grammaticus. This was further up and before we moved it, right? And by doing that, we now have moved it further away from a lot of buildings. And now we have a bakery in the heart of our city. So we just simply place this. Yeah, probably have to delete one of these. Yeah, we'll delete this really quick. And we'll place this right here. And now we're going to watch our fire safety go from -248 to -178, because that thing that the Vigilus said did say +64 before, now it says +134, a way better number. And we also have this issue over here where all of these are my very high fire producing. Oh, I don't want to move them. These are all my very high fire producing buildings. I've put them away from the majority of my city because I don't want them to start a fire like so and have it spread to the interior of my city. So we're going to go ahead and press the little eyedropper button, the copy button. Let's also just press C and click on the Vigilus. To help you out with this too, you can go ahead and press the city watch button here and then click or hover over this to see which ones you've got on your island. I only have one, and it even says in this little tooltip, area of effect, fire safety +2. Every building is going to get a +2 now, but below that says on island. So if you can't see the icon because it's just the island's too crowded, this is a great way to just see on island I've only have one. Let's go ahead and build another one over here. And that's going to affect this, but don't worry, we'll move that. So cool. Now we have someone that can immediately help out with this fire. There's an incident report. They've already deployed someone to come and help out, and they're going to go and fight that fire. So fire safety is a pretty quick one that can be solved simply by just simply organizing your buildings, just like we did before. Now that our city is slowly burning down, let's talk about production, because production is going to be huge, and understanding it on the basic level is pretty easy. I think the first experience you're going to have for production comes with tiles. You're going to make clay pits, which then you'll put into tilers, tilers. And you can see that both of these have a processing time. It's going to take 30 seconds to create a unit of clay, and then it is going to take 1 minute for the tiler to then process it. And you can have some fun with this by producing enough tilers to deal with your clay production. So in this example here, I have 2 clay pits and 1 tiler. Let's go over here, not to be confused with a guy named Tyler that drinks Monster Energy drinks all the time. We can say here, we can take a look at this, our clay. We have 4 of 4 current potential and 2 of 2 current demand. And same thing here. So both are running at 100% efficiency. Now, realistically, what I could be doing is thinking of this kind of like a math problem. It takes 30 seconds to make 1 unit. It takes 1 minute for the tiler to process it. So in the time that it takes the tiler to process that 1 unit, I've already produced 2 more, right? Because that's how the processing time works. So to make this efficient, I would technically reverse what I've got. 1 clay pit can service 2 tilers. That's how the best way that you should view this. And right now, I'm sorry, I thought I had 1 tiler. I've got 2 tilers up. So I could technically just delete this one, and it wouldn't hurt my productivity really. The demand is 4 of 4, or I'm sorry, the demand is still 1 of 1, and the current potential is 4 of 4. Our efficiency is still 100% on both of these. I was overproducing tiles. So we've fixed that. But there's another one that's going to be a little bit more complex. You're going to deal with these more and more as you look at some of the more complex requirements. So let's just look at bread. It's the next complex one as I smack my microphone that you'll take a look at. So wheat takes 1 minute. I currently have 2 wheat farms up. Flour, though, at a grain mill only takes 30 seconds. So 2 wheat farms can service 1 grain mill because it has to go in reverse this time. 2 grain mills right now is actually super inefficient. And let's see if we can see that from our actual production tab here, right? We're going to go to, this is pretty much our whole entire bread production right here. So our current potential is 2, but our demand is 4. And only occasionally we're hitting that. Right now it's at 4 of 4. It's going to drop down to 2 of 4 again. And our current potential is 4 of 4 because we have a surplus of wheat for this instance. And you can see there's my bottleneck. 28%. There you go. Just drop down. 28% productivity because the flour mill can't constantly run. It's constantly having to wait for product to come in. The demand, though, is only 1 as well. The bread maker, it's got so much so much flour that's in that it can't make enough because there's just only 1 bread maker, only 1 baker. So let's fix this production line. And it's not going to be like a lot of the things we've seen before. And to fix this, since I basically need to think of this reverse as the tiler, right? It was 2 clay pits to 1 tiler. Well, in this case, it's 2 wheat farms to 1 grain mill because I need to supply it with enough wheat to produce constant amounts of grain, right? So in this case, I have overproduced my grain mills, underproduced my wheat farms. So let's just make 2 wheat farms. We'll pop 1 right here and go ahead and just make a crappy farm. Usually I like to make them nice and pretty. And then another one right here. Here, as my voice just gives out. Oops. There we go. Now I'll go ahead and just make this one again. Atrocious. There we go. Oh gosh, it's terrible. But still, this won't be immediate. You can see the productivity has to ramp up in this. And as productivity ramps up across this minute, it will start to fix the production issue that we've got. So let's go ahead too and look at what's another production issue we've got with the same chain. Now we've got 4 of 4 current potential. Our demand is 2 of 4 because it needs to ramp up its productivity, right? Uh-oh, look, it's now at 4 of 4. Cool, we're running across the board. Only 57% because we're building these two back up, right? Their productivity has to go up. But this is now going to start fitting the potential that it needs to. Its demand, though, is low. Because remember, this is going 1 minute to 30 seconds to 1 minute. So we need to now make another baker to compensate for the amount of flour that we're producing. We'll go ahead and slap that right there just to make one really quick. And this is going to take some time. So let me just go ahead and jump forward and we can take a look at this. Put the game in fast forward and you can see that our wheat farms are now running at 100% efficiency. Our grain mills are going to be at 100%. I deliberately did this to see it hit 100. And now our baker is running at 100% because it has so much grain to constantly thresh through. That's not how it works. So much flour to constantly produce, and this will hit 100 and will be fixed. Now this will fluctuate back and forth. Don't worry about it. It's basically having to do with the actual navigation of the product coming in and out. I have to move it closer to a warehouse is probably what the situation is here. But this gives you a sense of how you can fix your production by looking at this and looking at the individual chains. And then let me pause this real quick. And then also just hovering over these things and getting a sense of, okay, 1 minute into 30 seconds into 1 minute and breaking out what that looks like. It honestly, me explaining it is a little rough, but rough because it's hard to visualize. You just kind of have to think about it and break it apart piece by piece. Okay, if it's going to take a minute, okay, that's 1 unit. Okay, well, this is going to take 30 seconds to process that 1 unit. So I need 2 units to process that unit fast enough to keep productivity and efficiency up. Well, this is going to take a minute and it's going to slow down again. So that's where you can see that there is going to be some sort of bottleneck in a situation and you just need to produce more of whatever that building was. Now, on the back of production is trade. And this is a big one to fix because this kind of has to do with your icons like this. Full output storage, or maybe you'll see like missing ingredient or stuff like that. And establishing trade routes in foreign nations is one thing, but establishing trade routes within your cities is another very big one. So I've produced another settlement over here, and you can see that it's much of nothing, right? If I click on our trading post, you can see that we've got tons of timber, but not really any tiles. So I can go ahead and press this and just build all these things. But what's going to happen is I won't be able to upgrade these any further because I don't have the corresponding tiles. And on this island, well, not anymore do we have an excess of timber. We have a dirge of timber and we have no tiles. So we're going to go ahead and press this trade route button. And I'm going to press a new trade route. I'm going to select my home. Well, we'll add a ship first. We'll add this ship just for the sake of the video. I've got to clean up some stuff on it. But we'll click my home island, the parent island where our resources are coming from. And then we'll click our location. So we have an excess of tons of stuff. So we click load good. Well, we've got so much timber. We've got so much tiles because we were overproducing tiles, right? And you can see by hovering over just what's on the map, right? Like tiles. Okay, well, I'm not even trading with this bro, but he's got 50 tiles. I know what's up in that situation. So let's send them some tiles. It doesn't need to be 50. We'll send like 20. And let's send them some wood. And I recommend this on anyone that you do build. You'd probably just send them a huge initial load of both and let them kind of work through it. And once at the location that we're going to target, we want to press this button because we have to unload the good once we've loaded it into our, whatever this thing called, into our trade ship. But let's assume, I'm just going to, a hypothetical here. Let's assume this location was producing lavender for us. Well, we would click on this, click lavender, and we would click back to our location and then unload that. So in this hypothetical trade route, our ship starts in Fortuna and it loads in things that we have an excess of or things that other islands need. And we unload it in that location and then load more goods in that location and then unload it back at our parent location. Now you can also do stuff like this and trade with another either neutral party, or right here you have the Emperor's representative, who and at this location they say we haven't discovered them, but we'll get to them later. And then you can sell goods to them. And it just depends on what they've got. Like right now she requests oysters, caviar, oysters with caviar, uncut marble, oats, and clay. So I've got tons of clay, right? Let's load up clay and let's sell it back and forth. So every time this ship runs this route, it's going to sell 30 clay for me and come back and do it ad nauseum. So this is an example of, you can use your trade routes to supply your own cities. You can use your trade routes, and you should be using your trade routes to sell your excess. You are going to overproduce something. This allows you to get a lot of money out of it, and it will really boost your income. Religion and technology do play a part in this, and I want to bring it up very quickly because this is going to come down to how you're approaching the game. Like if you're having an issue where, you know what, you just can't produce enough food, switch your patron god to Ceres. Are you having an issue where you're really struggling with naval stuff? Switch to Neptune. Are you, oops, I don't want to do that. I wanted to do this button here and go up here. There we go. Do you want to really work on a lot of military production? I know this all seems self-explanatory, but it is how you can fix a broken city. You cannot worship multiple gods at the same time in a Roman city. Rules are a little bit different as you jump over to Britannia, but this allows you to deal with different ways to shore up issues that you're encountering. And the same thing goes for your research, right? We talked about it a little bit ago, and I showed you a practical example of it, but our sewing circles here, now all of our clothiers now give us +1 knowledge area of effect. So that helps shore up some knowledge issues. This is going to help us out with our wells for fire safety. You know, by looking at some of these research things, you're going to get better ideas on how to fix certain things that you're maybe dealing with. Like here, this is the latrines are going to help with health. Well, we're struggling with health. Boom. Well, this is one that's going to give you a little bit of additional health here, or this is going to give you more income. So use both of these faculties in ways that make the most sense for you. Let me go into now probably one of the most elaborate things that we're going to change in this city, and that is your prestige and your specialists. Now, I covered this a lot in that income video I talked about, but it's a pitfall of yours that you're going to run into where you create things wrong. You're going to put things in the wrong spot, and that's okay because of the organic nature of this game and moving things. You can simply just drag something and move it somewhere else. We've been doing it the whole entire video, right? Well, in this instance, I built everything around this sanctuary because I thought it looked really cool, right? I was like, oh, this is a really cool way to do this. And the governor's villa will be out on the loft over here. Well, prestige is another big portion of your gameplay. By building prestige, you're going to make it so that other people, other governors, are more enticed to want to do things with you. But also, you have specialists. Now, the governor's villa is a specialist building. You have other specialist building, which you can find here, like the officium, which allows you to put specialists into it. And you can only have specialist buildings. Like, see, I can only place this as long as those don't overlap. So if I have other specialists that maybe, let's say this is like a military specialist and I have like a whole like military district, well, I'd want to slap that into the military district. Or maybe this is someone's going to help out with all this production over here. Well, I want to slap that over here. But in this example here, and again, this is something I've shown before, but in this example, this guy is giving health from taverns, knowledge from taverns, happiness from taverns, and this is making so all markets get additional income. So I'm hurting myself on so many different ways by having this the way it is. So this is an example here where you can just take swathing portions of your map and just move them. It's going to take you some time, but just do what you can to make things work. So I want you to see what I've got on this map right now, because this is going to close the video out. I've got these two farms are right here. These farms are over here. This Grammaticus is right there. There's a lot of just dead space right there. This is just kind of hodgepodge all over the place, right? So you can see how this all looks. Let's jump now to the end result, what I talked about in the beginning, right? What it's going to look like after we shift a lot of this around. So here is the city after a lot of those changes have been made. I just simply moved a whole ton of stuff around. I didn't do anything. I didn't build anything new. I maybe built some new roads to compensate for a lot of the changes here, but you can see that this now runs a lot better. And don't be afraid to keep changing stuff. There's already issues that I'm going to show out that I did. I just pretty much applied it. But I even just changed the orientation of certain buildings to give me better coverage of, say, the Grammaticus here, right? This Grammaticus, I'm going to move this one into here because this is a different save. I kind of adjusted things a little willy-nilly here. So we'll do this right there. Should be able to pop in like that. Yeah, let's delete that real quick. This Grammaticus comes over here and it takes advantage of all the stuff that we were talking about earlier. And we did just lose one of these. We'll build it again over here. No big deal. Is that 100? And you just build a road right to it. So that's an example. Hey, like I just did a bunch of adjustments, but I already see that I messed something up. An easy fix. Sometimes the orientation gets all funky too. There we go. I get too lost in like building all this stuff around, as you can see. But here's another example of something that I missed. This sanctuary is here and this sanctuary is here. Well, this whole block isn't pretty much receiving sanctuary, this whole block right here. So we can adjust this over here and put another sanctuary in this location. You're just going to keep tweaking these things as you expand out. Like this thing over here now is missing goods, and that's probably just an issue with the warehouse and where I just moved everything from. So don't worry about that. We'll fix it in time. But by moving something, sometimes you create issues. That's not a big deal. You just move stuff around. You just simply copy stuff, make another one, put it wherever it needs to be. Like just adjust things as you need. Don't feel like by doing one thing, you're going to break everything and now you just can't deal with it. Like, no, it'll be an easy thing to just kind of shore up and move stuff around. Have fun with this. Be organic. Like, it doesn't need to be this really strict city that lives by a strict set of rules. I gave you a lot of tips on how to fix stuff. And like I said, like you can see right here, I've cropped up a lot of issues already that I have to still fix and shore up. That's okay. It's just going to be a matter of tweaking those things to make it work for you. But now we have a very healthy production of money. We have great religion, prestige, knowledge. All those are coming in. Our health is positive, at least. Our happiness is great. Island safety could use a little work, and that's just simply going to be down to creating a vigilance close to that bakery that's offsetting it, right? You offset those penalties. But this is how you get to have a lot of fun in this game, is by fixing these little issues. It's part of the enjoyment of playing Anno. I just created these two right before I started recording. Okay, well, I know the issue here, right? We have a warehouse that's not in range, and we just simply create it and fix it and do those little things here and there ad nauseum as you kind of expand and learn more of the game. It's just kind of part of the whole process. So don't get don't get overwhelmed. Don't get afraid that you're going to mess something up, because you can just change it and move it, right? It's not a big deal to just do this. Oops. It's not a big deal to just do this really quick and fix whatever the issue was. It's just a fast little thing that you can do. There we go. Just make the road, please. Thank you. Fast little thing to kind of fix all these little issues. So don't be afraid to fail, because through failure, you're going to learn how to succeed in Anno. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. A huge reminder again that Anno 117 Pax Romana is out on PC across Ubisoft Connect, Steam, as well as the Epic Game Store. And you can also play the game on Xbox and on PS5. You can find that link below. So if you have not yet picked up the game, click that link and get jumping into Anno 117. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one and take care.